Uncle Mark said to Mary, "Come, I have plenty of snacks for you. Come, let's play our usual game and I'll give you lots of them." But Mary replied, "Uncle, please stop these games. They are very painful." "Wait, Mary, stop complaining," Mark hissed, dragging her closer. "I promise you'll enjoy this one." Knock, knock, knock. A knock on the door. It was Mark's wife. "Honey, it's me. Open the door. I'm back. What's going on in there?" Mark stood up, looking shocked. "Shh, Mary, be quiet." Mary was young when her mother took her to live in the city with her Uncle Mark. The night before traveling, Mary's mother told her to be obedient and to listen to her uncle. "He is a good man," her mother said. "Always be respectful towards your elders, as I have taught you, and do whatever your uncle tells you because he is wise." Then she began to pack Mary's luggage for the long journey to Uncle Mark's house. Early the next morning, Uncle Mark arrived. Mary was ready and waiting for him. She happily took her bags and got into the car. As the engine started, Mary's mother, feeling a bit sad, said, "Please take care, my daughter, and don't forget everything I have taught you." She waved as they drove off. The journey to the city was long but fun. Mary enjoyed watching the tall buildings and the beauty of the city. She was amazed by all the sights and sounds. Uncle Mark noticed her amazement and smiled. "You will get used to city life soon," he said. When they finally arrived at Uncle Mark's house, Mary was shocked to see the big mansion. Inside, Mary was given some food to eat. She sat at the dining table, enjoying her jollof rice and juice. Mr. Mark was a successful businessman. He had a wife and 2 children who lived with him in the city, but his wife often traveled from one city to another, sometimes visiting twice a month. As Mary settled into her new life, she began to notice her uncle's behavior towards her was changing. He often found excuses to touch her and make her feel uncomfortable. At first, Mary thought her uncle was just being affectionate, but as the incidents continued, she realized something was wrong. She felt trapped and scared and didn't know whom to turn to. One day, while playing with her uncle's children, she heard her uncle scream her name. She went to answer him. It was Saturday, and Mark was at home watching a video on television. The video was adult content, which was inappropriate for a young girl like Mary. When she entered the room, she saw her uncle watching television. He stared at her for a few seconds and noticed she was wearing an attractive dress. He told her to get him a glass of water. Mary rushed to get the glass of water. When she left the room, Mark began to have bad thoughts about his niece, influenced by the movie he was watching. With his wife never around due to her business, he felt lonely. Mary returned to her uncle's room with a glass of water. Mark took the glass and placed it on a small table beside his bed. Then he stood up and locked the door. As a young girl, Mary was confused about why her uncle was locking the room. He looked at her anxiously and said, "Mary, I need something from you." Mary asked what he wanted. "I want you to give me what my wife hardly does," he said. Mary was confused, as she didn't understand what her uncle was talking about. She thought about it, but couldn't figure it out. Uncle Mark proceeded by placing his hands on Mary's shoulder softly. He tried to bring his hand down to an inappropriate place. Mary quickly removed his hand from her body. "Uncle, my mother told me not to allow anyone to touch me there," Mary said, looking at her uncle. She was scared and didn't know what to do. Her uncle determined to take advantage of the opportunity, said, "Remember, your mother told you to do everything I say because she knows I can't hurt you. Just let me touch it now," Uncle Mark said softly. Mary thought for a while and remembered her mother warned her not to disrespect her uncle. She reluctantly allowed her uncle to touch her where he wanted. As a young girl, she didn't quite understand what her uncle was doing and had never experienced it before. When it became unbearable, Mary told her uncle to stop, but he didn't listen and continued even further. She tried to escape, but she couldn't. She cried and cried, but no one came to her aid. Meanwhile, Mark's children were in the living room, playing. They were waiting for Mary to return, unaware that she was going through a terrible ordeal. They heard her scream as if she was in trouble. One of Mr. Mark's children decided to check what was happening. As he walked towards Mary's voice, he realized the cry was coming from his father's bedroom. The little boy wondered what was happening in the room. He tried to open the door, but it was locked. Mr. Mark quickly noticed someone was at the door. He heard his son's voice and opened the door, pretending nothing had happened. John, Mark's son, walked in anxiously and asked, "What was wrong with Mary?" "I heard her crying." "What is wrong with her?" Mark replied, "Don't worry, son. Mary fell while getting me a glass of water. So I was attending to her, but she'll be fine." Mary knew her uncle was lying, but couldn't speak out because he told her to remain silent. She was sad and angry. It was a day she would never forget. That night, Mary sat on her bed, crying. Her uncle noticed she was still sad and went up to her. "Stop crying, Mary. You're almost a woman now. You will get used to it," Uncle Mark said. Mary, confused and not knowing what to do, said, "Uncle, please don't do that to me again. It hurts." Mark smiled and said, "Mary, it's just a game between us. Don't worry, next time we will play a different kind of game." Mark convinced her and brought out snacks, giving them to her as a gift. Mary accepted the gift, which made her smile a bit. He informed her that her mother would be visiting the next day and warned her not to tell her mother anything or she wouldn't receive any more snacks or gifts from him. "No, I want you to get me more snacks and gifts." "I won't tell my mom," Mary said. She was confused and didn't know what to do, but she didn't want to disobey her uncle. As the night went on, Mary couldn't sleep. Mary kept thinking about what her uncle did to her. She didn't know whom to confide in, but she knew she needed to do something. The next day, Mary's mother arrived in the city. Mary was excited to see her mother, but was also nervous about what had happened with her uncle. As they sat down to eat, her mother asked how she was doing. Mary wanted to tell her everything, but was scared. "I'm fine, Mommy," Mary said, trying to hide her pain. Her mother looked at her closely, sensing something was wrong. "Are you okay?" her mother asked again. Mary looked at her, unsure of what to say. Just then, Mark walked in, smiling and pretending to be a good man. Mary's mother thanked him for taking care of her daughter. Mark smiled, telling her not to worry and that he would continue to take good care of Mary and arrange a new school for her. Mary's mother was happy that Mark would enroll her daughter in a good school, as she couldn't afford to send her to school. That was one of the reasons she had brought her to stay with her brother. Mary's mother stayed with them for 2 weeks. Mark couldn't carry out his heinous plans with Mary because her mother was around and he couldn't take the risk. When it was time for Mary's mother to leave, Mark gave her a lot of food items and some money. She thanked him and waved goodbye to her daughter. Once Mary's mother left, Mark was ready to continue his evil deeds. As Mary was cleaning the house, she heard her uncle call out her name. She became scared again, knowing her uncle wanted to make her uncomfortable. She stood in the living room, Unable to run or say no, she had no other choice. So she walked to her uncle's room. As she opened the door, her heart raced. Mark said, "Mary, I have plenty of snacks for you. Come, let's play our usual game, and I'll give you lots of them." But Mary replied, "Uncle, the game is very painful and makes me uncomfortable." Uncle Mark continued to convince her, telling her it was just a game. Once again, Mary fell for his tricks. However, this time there was a knock on the door. It wasn't his kids, it was his wife. "Honey, it's me. Open the door. I'm back," his wife shouted while trying to open the door, which was locked. She wondered why her husband would lock the door. As soon as Mary heard her voice, her face lit up with joy. She felt a surge of hope, knowing someone had arrived to rescue her from her troubled situation. Important lesson for all parents to learn from this story. Parents, always be vigilant and listen to your children. Ensure their safety and well-being, even when they are with trusted family members. Teach your children to speak out if something feels wrong and to trust their instincts. Be an ever-present force in their lives and make sure they feel comfortable confiding in you. Your vigilance can prevent tragic situations and protect your child's innocence and well-being. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed the story. If so, please like the video, share and comment on what you think about the story. And what do you think every parent needs to do different in order to avoid such mistakes in their family? Hey, you might just be helping someone out there with similar experience. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more enchanting tales. See you in our next video. Bye for now.